20, and we'll keep those 80s as we head into the weekend. From the Storm
Thank you, my friend, for being here this morning. I appreciate it. We're just getting ready to get underway, so let's get into the big theme, the big open, I like to call it. Here we go.
And worldwide at Kello.com. The Doctor of Discernment is on the air.
I love the Greg Belfrage show.
I've been listening to you for years, Greg. Thanks for all you do and keeping us informed.
You sound a little taller on radio.
Dispensing a daily dose of common sense. No prescription required.
Americans love a winner and will not tolerate a loser. Americans play to win all the time. I don't believe in the no-win scenario.
This is the
Good morning, my friend. The marketplace of ideas is open. Welcome to the Greg Belfrage Show. It's really great to have you along this morning. Thank you so much for choosing our show. Big story this morning. Ryan Routh now has been charged with the attempted assassination of Donald Trump. And this is kind of weird that Judge Eileen Cannon, you'll remember Judge Cannon because she threw out the federal classified documents case against Trump. She was randomly assigned to Routh's case. So Routh initially was only being charged with 2 gun felonies, but the judge ruled yesterday that Routh would stay in. Oh, and this was on Monday, actually. Another judge had ruled that Routh would stay in prison as he waits for trial. Now he's been charged by a grand jury with the attempted assassination of a major presidential candidate. He also faces 4 other charges, 2 of which he held prior to Tuesday: possessing a firearm in furtherance of a crime of violence, assaulting a federal officer, felon in possession of a firearm and ammunition, and possession of a firearm with an obliterated serial number. So Judge Eileen Cannon will be overseeing the trial of Ryan Routh. And you know the rest of that story. We've covered it pretty extensively. There is a new report out this morning regarding Secret Service and what happened in Butler, Pennsylvania. We've been waiting for this as the initial report that members of Congress have been telling us would be coming. So this has been released. I think it was a 90-some page report, I think. So the Secret Service agents failed to take charge of decision-making for security at the rally. This is the rally in Butler, Pennsylvania. So the report cites interviews with top Secret Service officials, local law enforcement, who oversaw the security for the rally. They said the failures were foreseeable, preventable. Found that many of the problems identified by the committee remain unaddressed by the Secret Service. That is hardly a surprise. Unfortunately, it's just not much of a surprise, I think, for many of us. So some of the problems highlighted include the Secret Service failing to set up visual barriers around the rally that may have blocked a shooter's view of Donald Trump, the lack of a plan on how to secure the building that the shooter took aim from, the general chaos of communication around the shooter's movement, what it boils down to. Also, there were some resource requests that had been denied. Some were not even made, according to the report. So this is pretty damning. The report says that Secret Service, federal, state, and local law enforcement only had 2 official meetings ahead of the July 13th rally and described the interactions prior to the event as informal. And there were a number of decisions that fell through the cracks about whether to position rental trucks around the rally to obstruct any line of sight to Trump. Other issues included how responsibilities that day were not clearly defined nor understood, how communication would work that day. Fox News has got a story about the top story at foxnews.com this morning was a Secret Service officer with a drone who didn't know how to operate the drone and had to call a toll-free line looking for support as to how to operate the drone. Kind of says a lot about the experience of those who were in Butler, Pennsylvania that day. Find that story at foxnews.com. Again, this is a CNN report saying on this, again, the report being released by Congress. Agents interviewed did not agree about who was responsible for ensuring that the agency's communication center that day was functioning as intended. So, no, it's not my responsibility. It's they're the responsibility. It's not my fault, their fault. Wow, that's a little bit disturbing. The also information about this is regarding the Iranian assassination plot. And they touch on that intelligence that there was an Iranian assassination plot apparently had not been shared. That threat was not relayed to senior officials in the Pittsburgh field office or other Secret Service personnel on the ground. And they told the committee it was something they absolutely should have been made aware of. So what you see is just an incredible breakdown in communication that was taking place through this. The Secret Service site agent for the Butler rally was among those who only learned about the Iranian threat after the fact, according to the report. So this is it's pretty wild. New York Post, that was a report from CNN. New York Post is also reporting on this morning that the Secret Service agent in charge of the rally in Butler was made aware of credible intelligence of a threat against the former president, but didn't pass it along to her supervisor or others who were planning security for the event. 94-page report was released by the Senate Homeland Security and Governmental Affairs Committee. They determined that the Secret Service lead advance agent for the Trump rally wrote in a security planning document there was no adverse intelligence concerning Trump's visit to Butler, despite being notified of an unspecified threat. The lead agent told Senate investigators she notified the special agent in charge of the Pittsburgh field office about the credible intelligence before the rally. He says it never happened. So she's saying she passed it along. He's saying no, never. Who's telling the truth? I don't know. Secret Service counter snipers who are now part of every Trump event. Did you know that? The counter snipers, they're part of every Trump event. So counter snipers, including the one who shot and killed Crooks, the shooter, they were sent to Butler in direct response to the threat intelligence. This is what investigators found. So that's why there were counter snipers there. Normally there isn't. And This report from the New York Post says their fortunate deployment marked the first time that a Secret Service counter sniper team has ever been assigned to cover an event for someone other than the president, vice president, or a formally nominated presidential candidate. Trump had not been formally nominated at that point, at the time of this. He was shortly afterward. So this was the first time that counter snipers had been assigned, and it's good that they were. Again, you had other people one who was killed at the rally, several others who were injured, in addition to Donald Trump being struck in the ear. So, what trust do you have in the Secret Service? Not very good. Gallup is out, and they found Americans' rating of the Secret Service's job performance has deteriorated sharply. And this is what's fascinating. It's down 23 points. This survey was actually done prior to the most recent attempt on Trump's life. So what do you think if Gallup were to do another survey? Trusted the Secret Service down 23 points prior to the most recent attempt. What do you think it's like now as a result? That's a big story this morning. Also, Donald Trump's campaign announced last night actually, that he had been briefed by American intelligence officials about real and specific threats against him from Iran. And Trump earlier this morning on Truth Social said, big threats on my life by Iran. The entire U.S. military is watching and waiting. Moves were already made by Iran that didn't work out, but they will try again. Not a good situation for anyone. I'm surrounded by more men, guns, and weapons than I have ever seen before. Thank you to Congress for unanimously approving more money for Secret Service. 0 no votes, strictly bipartisan. Nice to see Republicans and Democrats get together on something. An attack on a former president is a death wish for the attacker, Trump said on Truth Social this morning. So Donald Trump being briefed on real and specific assassination attempts coming from Iran. He was briefed on this yesterday by intelligence officials. So that came the same day then, as I just mentioned, that Ryan Ralph charged with attempted assassination. Also, there's, speaking of Gallup, I was just mentioning that Gallup poll talking about the fact that Americans just don't have any faith in, really declining faith in Secret Service, down 23 points. And you just got to believe that it's fallen even more than that since the most recent assassination attempt. But there's a new Gallup poll showing Republicans leading on 9 out of 10 key issues that they use to determine which side has an advantage ahead of the election. Gallup said that the GOP trails only on the approval of Congress, and voters don't like either party on that. So Gallup said the political environment suggests the election is Trump's and Republicans to lose, which may be one reason that the legacy media is more hot and bothered than ever in terms of their reporting and what they're doing. And I think trying to tear down Republicans and Donald Trump in particular. But this is, according to Gallup, nearly every indicator of the election context is favorable to the Republican Party, and those that aren't are essentially tied rather than showing a Democratic advantage. They said party identification has traditionally been a strong indicator of predicting election outcomes. 48% say they are or lean Republican versus 45% who are or lean Democrat. And they say that's a Republican advantage not seen in decades. Gallup said Republicans previously have not had an outright advantage in party affiliation during the third quarter of a presidential election year, and they have rarely outnumbered Democrats in election and non-election years over the past 30 years, they say. And then they looked at other predictive measures as well. So this is, they said, one measure is which party voters believe will better handle big problems. In this, Republicans win. Republicans outgun Democrats 46 to 41% on the view that they are better suited to handle the economy. The poll finds that respondents view Republicans as the party that will make America prosperous by a 50 to 44% margin. Republicans are also getting help because of voter dissatisfaction with the Biden administration. Biden's unpopularity could still affect the election. And it's just amazing to me that that's not sticking to Kamala Harris more than it has been. I mean, it absolutely should be. But Biden, clearly unpopular, and they said his unpopularity could still affect the election to the extent that voters transfer their frustrations with the Biden administration to Vice President Kamala Harris. For her part, 44% of adults say they approve of the job she's doing as vice president, which is down about 3% from August. That's pretty. So should Joe Biden's unpopularity then transfer to Kamala Harris? To me, it's amazing that it doesn't. I mean, it absolutely should. Also, a story this morning about what's going on in Minnesota. And I think this is, typical of what's going on throughout the country. This was a Star Tribune poll found that Minnesotans are divided along political lines in terms of what they think of Minnesota Governor Tim Walz. According to the poll, 48% of likely voters in Minnesota, 48%, say they view Walz favorably, compared to 47% who view him unfavorably. And as you look at the poll, an overwhelming number of Republicans don't think he's doing a good job, while most Democrats think that he is. You're seeing that play out really on the national stage. What's going on in Minnesota is happening, I think, across the country. Also, Senator Joni Ernst of Iowa told Newsmax yesterday that the economic policies of President Joe Biden and Kamala Harris have forced companies such as John Deere to move their manufacturing out of the country. We've got a story that's trending this morning I'll share with you about Donald Trump and this issue of John Deere. So John Deere announced in July it would be cutting 600 jobs from plants in Iowa and Illinois and moving those positions to Mexico. And so Trump has said he'll impose a 200% tariff on John Deere if they go through with that. This is what Trump has said. And Senator Joni Ernst also responding to that. We're going to be talking to her on the program coming up tomorrow. Tomorrow morning, she'll join us, and I'll ask her about that. Also, Senator Joe Manchin has said he will not be endorsing Kamala Harris for the White House after she said she would get get rid of the filibuster in order to bring back the Roe v. Wade. So Harris made her support on Tuesday known, and Manchin, reacting to that, said shame on her. She knows the filibuster is the holy grail of democracy. It's the only thing that keeps us talking and working together. If she gets rid of that, then this would be the House on steroids, he said. So she's talking about eliminating the filibuster, not very well received by Joe Manchin. Also, there's a story at justthenews.com this morning about Democrats ignoring concerns over non-citizens voting, even though thousands are being found on voter rolls who should not be there, are not actually eligible to vote. And that's a look at the big stories this morning. Thanks so much for starting your day with the Greg Belfrage Show. I appreciate it, my friend. This hour is brought to you by the Window Shop of Mitchell, offering custom windows starting at $99 a month. 627 clear and 48. And you're listening to the Greg Belfrage Show on Kello.
And Robbins, weekdays at 2. Kello, News Talk 1320, 107.9.
The Kello Hotline is brought to you by Tires. See in-store details on how to get rebates from major tire manufacturers. 2 Sioux Falls locations to serve you.
A spectacular showpiece, a fantastic symphony. Experience the mesmerizing vision of Hector Berlioz. The South Dakota Symphony and Delta David Geyer perform the Symphony Fantastique, Hector Berlioz's vivid masterpiece. And Rachel Barton Pine performs violin showpieces, The Carmen Fantasy, and music by Wynton Marsalis. Sponsored by First Premier Bank and Premier Bangkok. Tickets start at $19. Call 605-731-2440 or visit sdsymphony.org. Saturday, October 5th at the Washington Pavilion, the Symphony Fantastique, as the South Dakota Symphony's new season begins.
Diabetes, high blood pressure, anxiety meds, everyone's on them. If
Forgive me,
maybe a bit porky and you may even have type 2 diabetes.
We had an issue right out of the gate this morning. There was no 603 local news. So I'm trying to let the team know what happened.
345-2789. Big Blue will find a term life policy for you even if you have type 2 diabetes, are overweight, or have high blood pressure. Term providers help thousands of people like you who think they can't afford term life insurance.
When I'm in here, I really would like to be able to focus just on you and what's going on. But then, you know, you depend on others to get stuff done. And if there are issues or problems, and I'm not blaming anybody, I don't know what happened. But things like that, when suddenly there's no, there's no local news at 6 o'clock this morning. And now I'm 3 minutes, or I'm, several minutes shorter of when I normally would be. That throws a major wrench into what's going on, as you can imagine. Not a big deal.
And we'll keep the sunny skies and the temperatures in the mid.
And in Sioux Falls at 6:30, clear skies, 48 currently at Kello. Joe Bowman is in the Kello.com news center. Coming up, a second person has been arrested in connection to a recent kidnapping and aggravated assault case in Sioux Falls. Joe will have details on that story coming up for you in moments here on Kello.
One of Florida's 67 counties are under a state of emergency as Tropical Storm Helene approaches. It's expected to become a powerful hurricane. We're anticipating Helene to become a major hurricane, taking aim on Florida's Big Bend and bringing widespread impacts for much of the state. Life-threatening storm surge, hurricane-force winds, power outages, over a foot of rain, and tropical tornadoes, all possible ahead of the storm as it moves inland tomorrow. That is Fox senior meteorologist Janice Dean. Vice President Kamala Harris in Pennsylvania today to talk economy as former President Trump urges voters not to buy into her proposal, saying this at a rally in Savannah, Georgia.
The tax queen is demanding a 33% tax hike on all domestic production.
Trump will campaign in North Carolina today. America's listening to Fox News.
Kello News Time, 6:31. I'm Joe Bowman in the Kello.com News Center. Football Hall of Fame quarterback Brett Favre says he has Parkinson's disease. Favre, who is 54, shared his diagnosis yesterday on Capitol Hill while appearing before a congressional committee hearing about welfare accountability and reform. He says during his 20-year career in the NFL, he may have suffered thousands of concussions. A shortage of childcare openings cost the city of Sioux Falls $150 million in lost economic opportunity back in 2022. The city hired the Woods Fuller law firm as a consultant to search for solutions. They're proposing 3 solutions, which include tax credits, zoning, and licensing changes, and direct financial assistance from the city and businesses. Here's City Councilor Kurt Sale.
I don't believe that a lot of people are going to jump up and down with a direct subsidy to people that need childcare. That's a hard sell when there's a direct subsidy.
Woods Fuller will issue a report next month that focuses on a proposed tri-share program, which could include grants for startups and operating expenses. A second person has been arrested in connection with a recent kidnapping and aggravated assault case in Sioux Falls. 33-year-old Diana Segura Luna is charged with allegedly kidnapping a 47-year-old Sioux Falls woman and assaulting her last Thursday. Luna's brother, Edgar Segura, was also arrested in connection with the crime. Her bail is set at $100,000. And the 12th annual Taste of Sioux Falls event starts tomorrow. The premier tasting event is a fundraiser for Sculpture Walk in downtown. The event features an unforgettable culinary experience from the finest chefs and restaurants in and around Sioux Falls. It all starts tomorrow evening at 5:30 in the Icon Event Hall. From the Kello.com News Center, I'm Joe Bowman.
The news never stops. Kello News Talk 1320 107.9.
Mostly sunny skies today for the Sioux Falls area. Our high temperature nearing 80 with a northwest wind at 5 miles per hour. For tonight, mainly clear, low at 52. And then tomorrow, we're back to the 80s, 83 in the afternoon with a south wind at 10 to 20. And we'll keep those 80s as we head into the weekend. From the Storm Center at Kettleland TV, I'm meteorologist Brian Karstens.
What was that?
I just want to bring up a point here.
This is where to go when you've got something to say.
You're going to have to tell these people what they want to know.
Kello News Talk 1320 107.9.
With the war being waged against Israel by Hamas, Hezbollah, and Hezbollah's benefactor Iran, we now see a future of electronic warfare.
Man, there are a ton of stories trending
First,
this morning.
The simultaneous explosion of pagers and then two-way radios. Now it's the QR code cyber weapon. I'm Kim Commando for NetSuite. Download the CFO's Guide to AI Machine Learning for free at netsuite.com/Kim. Over the last 24 hours, Israel has airdropped hundreds of thousands of leaflets into Lebanon. On each leaflet, there is a conspicuous QR code, and once scanned, the phone is instantly instructed to transfer all of its data to Israeli forces. Then the phone is bricked. That is, it becomes a useless piece of electronic garbage, suitable only for throwing at something. While this war brings a very real potential to engulfing the entire region, it's striking to see a non-lethal but powerful weapon that directly harms no one. There's still time to enter to win a brand new iPhone 16 at winfromkim.com. What does the future hold for business? Ask 9 experts and you'll get 10 different answers. rates rising or falling, inflation being up or down. Can someone please invent a crystal ball? Until then, over 38,000 businesses have future-proofed their business with NetSuite by Oracle, the #1 cloud ERP, bringing accounting, financial management, inventory, and HR into one fluid platform. With one unified business management suite, there's one source of truth, giving you the visibility and control you need to make quick decisions. With real-time insights and forecasting, you're peering into the future with actionable data. When you're closing the books in days, not weeks, you're spending less time looking backwards and more time on what's next. The inevitable holds many possibilities, and you don't want to miss out on that. And speaking of opportunity, you can now download the CFO's Guide to AI and Machine Learning at netsuite.com/Kim. The guide is free to you at netsuite.com/Kim. netsuite.com/Kim.
The Kim Commando Show, live Saturday mornings at 9. Kello News Talk 1320 107.9.
The Kello Hotline is brought to you by Tires. Your Give You More tire and automotive store. Financing programs available. 2 Sioux Falls locations to serve you.
Bring charm from the
All right, here we go.
Picture and combination windows, optimizing beautiful.
Oh man, it's one of those days. I know it seems like every day is a bad rush. Yeah, it is. If you're watching and going, man, what's going on? It's
Chicken breasts are always ready to pick up. They're now taking deer, antelope, and elk for processing.
I really want to be able to share as much news as I can with you, especially in this 6 a.m. hour. You know, after 7 o'clock, generally we open up the phone lines and relax it a little bit. But I'm trying to share as much news with you, at least just a little bit of it, and let you know, okay, these stories are trending, and give you just enough so that if you want more information, you can go find it.
And right now you can try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio.
So that's the whole point about, sharing these stories that are trending this morning. How thick is that? I mean, that's a lot of stuff that I'm going to try to tear through in pretty short order here this morning.
40 or 400 people. Get ready to meet first-rate talent. Just go to ZipRecruiter.com/radio to try ZipRecruiter for free. Don't forget, that's ZipRecruiter.com/radio. Finally, that's ZipRecruiter.com/radio.
Okay, some mornings you might not have that get up.
Oh. .638, clear skies, and 48 currently at Kello. Good morning, my friend. Welcome to the Greg Belfrage Show. It's great to have you along this morning. There's a really interesting story this morning and troubling, being honest with you, at Fox News. And 1 in 5 Americans say they rarely or never wake up feeling well rested. And they got into this. What are the things that you worry about and keep you up at night? What do you worry about? And this piece has got the top 5 worries at bedtime that people have. Inflation is number 1. And so we'll run those down. It's honestly, it's a little bit curious. When I go to sleep, when I make the decision, okay, I'm going to sleep. I hook up my CPAP and I'm out for the night. I close my eyes. Man, I don't know how long I'm still awake, but I'll tell you, it's not very long. Some nights more than others, but generally speaking, I mean, I close my eyes and I say my prayers, and man, I just let go. I go to sleep. I'm out. A lot of people can't do that. So we'll talk about that coming up a little bit this morning. Also, I want to remind you that if you haven't done so already, that we'll be giving away certificates. These are free weekend passes to SuperCon. And for those of you who follow me on Facebook, pinned right to the top of my Facebook page, all you have to do is reply to a post that I put up saying that I've got these passes. All you have to do is reply to it. It can be gibberish as far as seriously, you don't need to say anything significant. Just say, please enter me. That's enough. You're in. And we'll be giving away a number of passes. Again, SuperCon is coming up this weekend. So make sure you sign up on the Greg Belfrage Show on Facebook. Again, this hour of our show brought to you by the Window Shop of Mitchell, offering custom windows starting at $99 a month. All right, federal prosecutors have formally charged Ryan Routh with the attempted assassination of Donald Trump. A federal grand jury in Miami returned the indictment against him, and they upgraded the charges. And it reflects then what the Justice Department has said, that he methodically plotted to kill Trump, aiming a rifle through the shrubbery surrounding the golf course. Did you see now the Ryan Routh's son is running into trouble? He was arrested on child pornography charges yesterday. Orrin Alexander Routh, whose father is Ryan Routh, has been charged with 2 counts of receipt and possession of child pornography. So according to the complaint, the FBI was searching Orrin Routh's residence and devices just days after his father was arrested. Source told CNN the search was conducted in relation to the investigation of his father, but investigators found hundreds of child pornography files on an SD card that belonged to the son. Also, Americans' rating of the Secret Service has fallen sharply to a new low. In Gallup's 10-year trend, the latest poll was completed almost entirely before the most recent assassination attempt on Donald Trump. But 1 in 3 U.S. adults now rate the Secret Service's performance. Hold on. This is really badly written from Gallup. 24% say good, 25% say only fair, 36% say poor, 8% say excellent. Based on what? I mean, just there was a time I would have been like that. Also, President Joe Biden addressed the U.S. withdrawal from Afghanistan in a speech before the United Nations yesterday. This will be his final speech to the UN. And he said in New York City, when I came to office, Afghanistan had replaced Vietnam as America's longest war. I was determined to end it, and I did. It was a hard decision, but the right decision. 4 American presidents had faced that decision, but I was determined not to leave it to the 5th, he said. The decision was accompanied by tragedy. 13 brave Americans lost their lives, along with hundreds of Afghans in a suicide bomb. I think of those lost lives. I think of them every day, the president said yesterday. Also, Brett Favre, former Green Bay Packers quarterback, told Congress yesterday he's been diagnosed with Parkinson's. And he was testifying about his potential misuse of taxpayer money. So he was appearing before the House Ways and Means Committee. He's been accused of improperly using political connections then to redirect public money to his alma mater and to his own pocket. And as he said, I lost an investment in a company that I believed was developing a breakthrough concussion drug I thought would help others. And I'm sure you'll understand why it's too late for me because I've recently been diagnosed with Parkinson's, he said. This is also a cause dear to my heart. Recently, the doctor running the company pled guilty to taking public money for his own use, he says. Also, Donald Trump and Kamala Harris are neck and neck, according to another new poll. According to a recent CNN poll of polls, Kamala Harris is currently ahead of Donald Trump by 3 points. Trump and his backers have hammered Vice President Kamala Harris for her this trip to the southern border she's taking or will be taking. Trump said she's going to the border very soon. She hasn't been there for 4 years. He said she didn't do anything regarding the border. And Trump is one of a number of people then who are reacting to that news of Kamala Harris and a border visit. Also, this story of Donald Trump and giving this mom of three $100 toward her grocery bill at this store in Pennsylvania has been big news this week. It's trending this morning. And Trump gave her $100 and said, here it's going to go down a little bit. And he said, it just went down by $100. Thank you so much, she said. We'll do that for you from the White House, all right? He said as he waved goodbye. And then he also purchased a large bag of popcorn at the business. He heard it was pretty good. And he said, oh, look, I got to get some. We got to get it, Trump said, handing over the bag. And the customer said, my mom just got a bag of that, actually. So Trump, what's interesting is the owner of the grocery store who told Trump, we've got the best crew in the world, he told Trump. And Trump asked him, so how do you do against the big stores? He said, I'm very proud because every year we went up, except for the last 3 years because of this inflation. It's exactly what you said. Prices are up, but our sales are down. So we've had to get super creative on how we use our space. And Trump said, prices go up, yet your sales are down. Yeah, so it's been brutal. Thankfully, I have a great crew, a great staff, my family. We work together, he said. Also, there's a rap artist who goes by the name Macklemore, was slammed on social media after encouraging others in the crowd at his concert. He was in Seattle. So he was encouraging them to chant F America. Now that story is trending. The reaction from country music star Hardy to this, I think is going to wind up trending over the course of the next couple of weeks. I bet I'm going to tell you about that later this week. The story will be trending. The reaction from Hardy, I will talk about it about an hour from now, because that'll be today's Looney Tunes in the news. Just a great reaction from Hardy to that. Also, a Haitian charity, it's a nonprofit that advocates for Haitian migrants, has filed criminal charges in Ohio over comments made by Donald Trump and J.D. Vance, claiming illegal migrants are eating people's pets. So the Haitian Bridge Alliance filed the suit. There's a statute in Ohio that allows a private individual having knowledge of the facts who seeks to cause an arrest or prosecution to file suit charging an offense. So they're saying that this is false and they're spreading it. And also coming up yet this fall, InfoWars, Alex Jones' InfoWars media platform and its assets will be auctioned off in order to help pay over $1 billion that he owes the families of the victims from the Sandy Hook Elementary School shooting. So a federal judge is expected to approve that order, according to reports. Also, as you know, Diddy has been in the news. And it's not been good, but his music is seeing a whopping increase in streams. So in other words, more people are streaming significantly. The number of people streaming Diddy's music, it's way up since he was placed under arrest, facing a number of charges. Also, shots were fired into Vice President Kamala Harris' campaign office in Tempe, Arizona, police said yesterday. And it was the front windows were shot with either a BB gun or a pellet gun, and no one was inside. But police said it raises concerns about the safety of those who work in the building. What's going on in New York? New York City Schools Chancellor has been chosen after David Banks announced plans to retire at the end of the year. And so Banks' retirement announcement on Tuesday comes in the middle of a federal investigation into Mayor Eric Adams' administration. That's a pretty convoluted story. There's a lot going on with that. Also, the former girlfriend of Sam Bankman-Fried, Caroline Ellison, was sentenced to 2 years in prison. So she's serving time for her role in defrauding investors and customers ahead of the cryptocurrency platform. And so the judge handed down a 2-year term behind bars along with 3 years of supervision. She was also ordered to forfeit around $7.1 billion. West Virginia Senator Joe Manchin says he will not be endorsing Kamala Harris. He said in an interview on Wisconsin Public Radio this week that Harris said that the U.S. Senate should eliminate the filibuster for Roe. And Manchin said, shame on her. She knows the filibuster is the holy grail of democracy. The only thing that keeps us talking and working together. If she gets rid of that, then this would be the House on steroids. I think that basically can destroy our country. And my country is more important to me than any one person or any one person's ideology. I think it's a most horrible thing. He's saying that's why he is not supporting Kamala Harris. The Republican Governors Association has pulled ad money out of Mark Robinson's North Carolina race. As you know, that's in the midst of this whole black Nazi scandal. And Robinson is fighting back, but he's losing funds and staffers as well. The mayor of the only U.S. city with an all-Muslim government has endorsed Donald Trump. Amir Ghalib, who heads this is in Michigan, in the state of Michigan. He said over the weekend he believes that Trump was the right choice, despite their disagreements on some issues. He said on Facebook, President Trump and I may not agree on everything, but I know he is a man of principle, he said. Also, Chicago gang members are sounding alarms about the dangers being posed by a Venezuelan gang, Trendiaragua. This is according to the New York Post. So, a former gang leader who is now head of ex-cons for community and social change didn't mince words about foreign gangs wreaking havoc in Chicago, and he blamed it on the Biden-Harris administration. He said when the black gangs here get fed up with the illegalities and criminal activities of these migrants or non-citizens, the city of Chicago is going to go up in flames, and there will be nothing the National Guard or the government can do about it when the bloodshed hits the streets. It'll be blacks against migrants, he said. So this was released, this interview was recorded and released over the weekend. Also, Japanese jet fighters fired warning flares at a Russian military reconnaissance plane that had violated Japan's airspace on Monday. So again, they fired flares at the Russian jets in hopes of warning them off. Donald Trump issued a warning this week about imposing 200% tariffs on John Deere products if they relocate their manufacturing operations to Mexico. Threatened a 200% tariff on the company. And that's a look at the stories trending this morning in Belf's News Gallery. It's really great to have you along this hour of the Greg Belfrage Show, brought to you by the Window Shop of Mitchell, offering custom windows starting at $99 a month. Currently clear skies and 48. News update on the way here at Kellogg.
To the world, outer space, and beyond. If there's something fascinating, we're talking about it. Kello, News Talk 1320, 107.9.
We don't just meet expectations, we exceed them. We don't just follow best practices, we set them. At Mitchell Roofing and Siding, you're not just choosing a service provider, you're choosing a partner who's relentless in the pursuit of perfection. A partner who believes in getting better every single day. Together, we're not just building roofs, we're building a legacy.
I want to thank you so much, my friend, for letting me join you this morning. Sorry, my thoughts were getting ahead into the next hour here, forgetting that's the end of the 6 a.m. hour. So I want to thank you so much for being here. I very much appreciate it. Hope you'll join me 9:30 for the fourth hour of the Greg Belfrage Show. Hope to see you then. Take care. See you soon.
You had a shot at that F-150, but it stopped in time. I'm up next. Car season.